This one's called The Yule Log. John took the best part of a week in choosing the right tree, another day deciding which branch would be sacrificed. After a further day, he had a sawn-off log cleared of particularly resistant lichens that had taken hold in the crook of the branch. Only then was he ready. He clamped the log tight on his workbench, making sure the chisel was sharp, and began. He cried as he carved. His memory of her singing always brought tears, her pure soprano climbing high above his ponderous chord changes in the old wheezing harmonium. Jacqueline. It took a long time to get that name engraved in the log. The cold didn't help. It bit deep into his old bones, despite the furnace in the corner of the workshop. But after it was done, he had to work fast, for it was already dusk, and the log needed to be in the grate before midnight, otherwise it would all have been for nothing. He quickly chiselled out the second line, words long since etched in his memory. A fond kiss. He carried the log through to the main cottage and took care preparing a fire. He used just the right mixture of paper and coal to ensure the log wouldn't burn too quickly, and he placed it in the front of the gate. That done, he went to the dresser, carefully retrieved a charred piece of wood from where it had been wrapped in a handkerchief, and he thrust that deep into the bills of the coal, lit the dried paper with a match. Once he was satisfied the fire wouldn't go out, he prepared the next part of the ritual. 3 fingers of single malt in a glass by his chair, and enough tobacco to see him through the night. The old log cracked and spat as he filled his first pipe, and almost immediately he was lost in reverie. It will take time, they'd said. She's gone to a better place, they'd said. And for most of the year he'd managed to believe that. He'd been helped by mindless toil in the fields and hard liquor at night, and the crumbs of comfort that came from his faith. But on this night, the anniversary of the day she was taken, his faith proved harder to come by. Everywhere he looked he saw her traces, from the mirror above the mantel they got as a wedding present from her dad, to the walnut pipe in his hand that the same old man had smoked all his life. John didn't notice the tears that ran down his cheeks until he was brought back to the present by the church bells calling the faithful to Mass. There was a time he would have walked that snowy lane to the church, armed in arm with Jackie, stars twinkling in her eyes. But those walks had stopped all too suddenly. The end had come as they got ready for Mass that night a year ago. First there came a headache, then a fit, and then she was gone. A doctor, a policeman and a vicar, 3 wise men, ushered her off into the great beyond. And now John sat, with the log burning, waiting for a sign that another year was worth the effort. Carols whispered in the night across the cold air between his cottage and the church. Snow pattered on the window, the beat accompanying the singing. Fresh tears came, and suddenly John was weeping uncontrollably. The old harmonium in the corner moaned in sympathy. He looked up from the fire to where a quick movement in the mirror had caught his eye. "Jackie, is that you?" Cold lips brushed at his cheek, and his tears froze in his whiskers. A high soprano voice carried through the room, just audible above the moan of the old harmonium. "A fond kiss." John sat upright in his chair, and in the process knocked a whisky glass over. It clattered on the floor, the harmonium stilled, and outside the snow died to a mere rustle. Over in the church the congregation was between carols. Silence fell. Did I imagine that? The next thought came immediately. Does that matter? He sat there in the chair all night. In the morning, he took a charred portion of the log from the cooling grate, wrapped it in a handkerchief and put it away in the cupboard. He felt refreshed. As he closed the door, he sang the words that he was seeing through yet another year. A fond kiss, and then we sever.